Okay, so that's the first hour and a half on the water, and it has been difficult. The conditions aren't brilliant. It's horrible weather, the temperatures are very low, a bit blustery, rainy. It's a bit clear at the moment. This has given me the opportunity to get the camera out. But what I've been fishing with was the floating line, intermediate braid, and about 5 foot of tippet with my black and green frits on. Now I was fishing this about a week ago. It did pull a few fish out of the depths, but I've set up the second rod, switched it all around a bit, so now I've got intermediate line on with a fast sink braid and about 5 foot of tippet to the green frits, and then on the other rod then I've set up with the floating line intermediate braid about 8 foot of tippet to a size 16 red buzzer. I'll be putting that around slowly. You know that's going to be a lot slower fishing. It's nicer when you're on the lures, busy all the time, it keeps you active. Gonna have to slow it all up if I want to contact these fish. They are sitting a lot deeper. With these 2 rods now, what I'll do is I'll put the buzzer out, give that another hour, and then switch back and forth. Okay, so all I'm going to do here now is I'm casting out. Now what you can't see is that just below the surface we've got areas of weed and areas where you're able to get the fly into. So all I'm doing is just casting it out into that space and letting it drop, and obviously keeping contact with the fly as it drops down. So obviously once it's dropped a certain depth, I'm judging as to how deep I'm going. So any other cast following this, then I can judge roughly where the depth of the weed is, so I can keep the fly just off the weed, and then just slow figure of 8 in, or sometimes I'm using the tip of the rod to drag the fly through, a bit like fishing on the hang. Now we're fortunate on this water really because the weed is kept under control. We've got a couple of guys, they do a lot of weed, and obviously what they're doing then is it's a brilliant job because obviously we're able to get into fishable water then. So it's virtually like fishing it on the hang at times, dragging the rod tip in, always keeping in contact. The takes on occasions are so gentle. Sometimes you really do believe you're stuck on the weed. So never to just rip the rod up too quickly. Just gently pull into it, and sometimes you'll find that you'll get a bit of resistance and it'll be a fish. They are so gentle with it. It's obviously because you're fishing the pattern so slowly. What I've got on here, which is important when you fish ground like this with this amount of weed, because you're going to hook into some weed at some point, is to make sure you've got a strong enough tippet on. So I've got 8-pound tippet on so that I can make sure I pull everything out of the weed. But not only that, when you do hook up to a fish and you're in these heavily weeded areas, you've got to be able to bully that fish to keep it out of that weed. There's no point in going too light and then find the fish pull drags you straight into that weed. You could end up getting tangled, you lose the fish. Worse than that, the fish could end up getting tangled in there with tippet stuck on it and end up killing the fish. So yeah, put a bit more weight on the tippet. For me, as I say, I'm going 8-pound. It hasn't distracted from the fishing. The fish are picking me up just the same. end there, picking up another fish. Nice one, mate. Okay, so that's been a pretty decent day, really. The fishing hasn't been easy, and it hasn't been difficult neither. Most of the boys that have been up here today, they've remained in the main lake, and it's been a bit slow in the main lake. I chose to go in the fish the arms. The water is a lot shallower there, so you're able to make contact with the fish a lot easier, I feel. So, and it paid off for me. One of the boys, Rob, he turns up. He's got his new Rio line. It's like some sort of sinking or intermediate. It does this in the water, and he's fishing that. And that seemed to prove quite well. I think he probably had about 6 fish out of the main lake, which was really good. I did get the one on the buzzer, and then I get very lucky towards the end here. I was virtually giving up, and I thought I'd have a cup of tea. I was watching the boys. A few fish moved out in the main lake here, so I got the rod back out. I put it on my floating line with a small size 14 like March brown, and I put it out there, and straight away the fish picked it up. So that was a nice little bonus. For me, fishing them shallower arms was the way to go for me today. As I say, the boys in the main lake, they were struggling a bit more, exception of Rob. Okay, so that's enough for me. The lights fading, temperatures dropping a bit, but I hope you enjoy the video. Give us a thumbs up, send me a comment, that'd be nice. Until the next video, take care.